Beards and Flix, baby.
Okay, so this is episode 2 of Beards and Flix.
Yes.
I said the S this time, so I'm not an idiot. I am Brad Johnson. I am here with my friend of 10 years, but it feels like 100 years, Mike Davis. Mike, do you prefer Mike or Michael?
Mike, always
Because
Mike.
on your Facebook and your Instagram,
I know.
it's the formal Michael Davis.
I wanted to make it, just the full government name.
Right on. That's cool.
My mom's the only one that calls me that. So it's like kind of like a designated thing for her, but everybody else, I always say Mike.
There are 5 people, maybe 6 people in the whole world that call me Bradley.
That's gotta
My
be weird.
Aunt
though.
Jennifer,
Okay.
my best friend Seth Johnson since 6th grade, still calls me Bradley. And I don't hate it. I've always gone by Brad. I've
Same.
never actually
like-
gone by Bradley.
Yeah. Well, I say same, I mean Mike, same, short, yeah.
Yeah, you've never gone by Brad, have
Never,
you?
no. Why would you use 2 syllables when one will do?
So last week we talked about Die Hard with a Vengeance and our love for that movie. This week we are talking about Terminator Salvation, the 4th movie in the Terminator franchise, 2009 release. You know what I didn't look up is all of the movies that were coming out in 2009, and let's just do that now. The cinematic atmosphere when Terminator Salvation was releasing, 2009, an animated movie called 9. Did you ever see that?
No, that was Elijah Wood.
Produced by, no.
He voiced the main, yeah.
Produced by Tim Burton. Pretty cool animated movie. Kind of dark. Gamer. Did you ever see Gamer?
Yeah, I saw it.
I don't think I ever saw Gamer with Gerard Butler.
He didn't miss much.
Okay.
Collector was a good one, but you don't watch horror films, yeah.
Those kind of horror films. Was it like really gory and?
Some parts were, yeah.
What does he collect? Body parts?
He collects people and
Okay.
He builds traps in these houses.
Oh.
It's like think of Home Alone but sadistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Won't be watching that. Couples Retreat's pretty funny. It's like a rom-com.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I would like to watch it.
It's pretty good. 2012, one of my son's favorite movies.
Is it really?
He loves disaster movies. He does, man.
It's like a mini Roland Emmerich.
That's because the first movie I showed him that was like that was Twister.
Oh.
And then he just found other ones that he loves. Land of the Lost was kind of an underrated comedy from Will Ferrell, 2009. I actually really enjoy that movie. It's based on a TV show.
Right.
Yeah, so Land of the Lost. The Ugly Truth, another Gerard Butler rom-com.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on the Gerard Butler rom-coms.
I'm okay with that. So 2009. We got to talk about The Proposal. 2009 release. Ryan Reynolds in a rom-com with Sandy Bullock.
Sandy Bullock.
Good old Sandy. I think that movie is hilarious.
When you say Sandy, it makes me think of like an 84-year-old grandma.
Okay,
that
I'll
cooks
use
cookies for the neighborhood.
I'll use her formal name, Michael. I will call her Sandra.
Wow, Michael. Okay.
Oh, District 9. The
really
Blind Side. Can't forget The Blind Side.
Also, Sandy again.
Sandy Bullock.
Was that
I'm sorry. There's a Legally Blondes. It must be like a 3rd release that
no one's ever heard of.
Never went to theaters.
That's the Walmart bargain bin. As you're checking
absolutely.
Out. Yeah.
$5 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So some big movies in 2009.
Oh, Law Abiding Citizen.
Law Abiding Citizen, yeah.
That's Gerard Butler again.
Dude, he was hot in 2009.
Yeah, he kind of was.
I wonder if he was up for a role in this movie. So Terminator Salvation, and this is the movie that I met Michael Davis on.
So we're gonna stick with the theme.
We're gonna go
of my
back
full
to
name?
that story from the first episode, introductory episode of our podcast, talking about how we met. What do you remember from that night?
Honestly, not much in terms of what led up to it. I just remember a friend of mine that I was close to back then. He said, "Hey, it's gonna be just a guys' night. Me and some of my friends, all of their wives are going out." I was the only single one, so I thought, cool, I won't have to be the 11th wheel.
Were you the only single one?
Yeah, all you guys were married.
I think we were all like pretty freshly married too. In my previous marriage, that sounds like I'm married now.
It does.
When I was married, I'll say it like that. 2006 is when I got married.
Oh, so
2009 is when we saw this. So
was Remy born yet? Your son?
Oh no, he wasn't.
Okay, I didn't think so.
2011.
But I remember we took up most of one row because it was like 7 or 8 of us.
Yeah. It was. We saw it at the AMC, which used to be.
It used to be Carmike Cinema.
Yeah. Before AMC purchased it.
And I remember afterward, one of you guys said, hey, we're going to go over to a friend's apartment and just kind of hang out with him.
Mm-hmm.
This is another guy that I guess didn't come out. And so I decided to tag along.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, you rode with me.
Oh, yeah,
I don't remember why.
Well, I rode to the movie theater with one of the guys.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we were just going to go to a friend's house, so I just rode with you.
Right. So that makes me think at some point between the movie and leaving, we must have clicked on some level.
Well, probably movies.
It probably was.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the movie we just saw.
And so you rode with me, and the best part about this night, aside from the movie, is we get to the guy's apartment. He's watching Master and Commander with his wife.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's like right in the middle of it, and there's like 8 guys who just show up.
Yeah.
And he's in the middle of this movie with his wife, and we're all kind of looking like, this is awkward. We should just try to find a way to leave. So we're trying to plan an excuse that we can all use that would allow us to leave and not make it uncomfortable.
Right.
And I forgot what the excuse was, but it was one of those that would only apply to one person. But we all basically were like, oh, yeah, me too. Well, me too, me too. And we just left.
And we all just bounced?
Yeah, we all just bounced.
Oh, I don't remember that
It was
at
so
all.
awkward.
Yeah.
But it was funny, though.
I have never seen Master and Commander.
Neither have I.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page. Maybe we should watch it.
But after that night, I don't think I saw you for like 4 or 5 years after that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would see you every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So May 21st, 2009 was this movie came out, and we saw it opening night, I think, or that weekend or something.
Right.
Opening weekend. I remember really enjoying it. What I remember from it was the first time I saw it was that it didn't feel like a Terminator movie. Yet it had Terminators in it.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
It had a CG Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
It was starring Christian Bale, who was really hot in 2009. This is coming off of
The Dark Knight the
year before. And
I think he does The Prestige the year after.
I was going to say, that was pretty close, and I love that movie too. Prestige is a really good magician movie. So we literally are sitting here on IMDb the entire time, and I have IMDb open all the time. We should get sponsored by them.
That would be amazing.
Can we ask?
Yeah, I would definitely ask.
Can we ask IMDb to sponsor this podcast, give us some money?
I'm going to find them on LinkedIn.
So Public Enemies came out the same year as Terminator Salvation, which is a Johnny Depp vehicle.
Mm-hmm. It's also Michael Mann. Shout out to Michael Mann.
I didn't know Michael Mann directed that. I didn't mean to completely...
So I had to see that.
Fact check you immediately.
But when it comes to Michael Mann, I'm probably going to know most
Absolutely. Okay, so where was The Prestige? Oh, 2006, okay.
Oh, was that early?
A few years ago. Oh, 310 to Yuma. I love that movie. That's a really good remake.
As far as modern Western movies go, that's probably one of the best I've seen.
Modern Western remake with Ben Foster as a wonderful villain.
And Russell Crowe.
So, Christian Bale starring Sam Worthington, who was also really big at the time. The director of this movie, McG, when he was thinking about directing this movie and getting prepared for it, he had all of the actors read The Road by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
Which is a very dark...
That's Viggo Mortensen and his son?
That movie came out later this year, 2009.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, anyways, McG had all of the actors in this movie read that book to get inspired by the darkness of that book and that atmosphere. He also went and talked to James Cameron while James Cameron was getting ready and shooting Avatar. James Cameron suggested that Sam Worthington be in this movie. Like we talked about in last week's podcast episode, suggestions like that hold a lot of weight. And having James Cameron, who helmed the first 2 Terminator movies, it's a big deal.
Right.
So him saying, hey, Sam Worthington should play, the role of Marcus. Now, Christian Bale actually auditioned for Marcus.
Right.
And then he was like, I think I'd be better at John Connor. And the role of John Connor transformed after Christian Bale was cast. It turned into a bigger part.
Right.
So then Sam Worthington got the part of Marcus, and such a cool idea for this part of the franchise.
I agree.
The movie opens with a cancer-ridden lawyer played by Helena Bonham Carter. Am I saying her name right?
Yeah, that's it.
Comes into this. We see Sam Worthington's character Marcus in a cell, and Helena Bonham. Helena, this is going to be difficult.
Helena Bonham.
Helena? I said it different.
Oh, did you?
I did. So
Helena Bonham Carter.
That one. She comes into his cell, and you can clearly tell she's got cancer.
Yeah.
Because she has like a bonnet or like a headband or something way far back on her blatantly bald head.
Right.
And he's in the cell, and he's kind of downtrodden, obviously.
I think that's his final day before he's supposed to go to execution. It is actually.
Absolutely. He's on death row, and she comes in and she asks him to do what?
Donate his body to this program, which she works for Cyberdyne.
Which we didn't know yet.
Yeah. You don't know until after he signs his consent form.
Yeah.
And then they pan up and it says Cyberdyne Systems.
Yeah. Which is cool. So it's a cool little intro to this character. So he goes, and the whole opening credits is basically him getting executed by that I guess they lethal injection. Is that what it was to you? You got that too?
Because there were 3 or 4 different pumps of whatever. Right. Yeah.
So he got lethally injected and he dies, and then the movie starts.
They get cut to the future.
It goes to directed by McGee, which I thought was really cool. How they visually it looked really cool.
Showed the credits. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes into the movie. So then we meet Christian Bale, and it's this battle scene.
Yeah.
Right, and it's really cool because it's shot with it's like a camera on a swivel.
It is.
It's how it's shot. And it was really cool how they were moving back and forth. Fighter jets are flying through and there's explosions everywhere.
It's chaos.
And then a helicopter lands, and then another helicopter lands.
Right.
It's one of those classic Terminator shots,
yes.
right?
Yes.
It's a helicopter with what are they called? The legs?
The foot post? I don't know what you call it. Listeners, if you know what that piece of the helicopter is, please let us know.
What's on the bottom of a helicopter? Rudder? No, not rudders.
It's
skis?
It's a step. I mean, you use it.
Okay, whatever. So that thing lands on a skeleton of a Terminator.
Yeah.
And we see a boot step down.
No, but he shoots
and then he shoots the skull of the Terminator.
What is that gonna do?
And then the camera tilts up, not pans up.
There you go, because there's a difference.
Tilts up, and we see the reveal of Christian Bale. Kind of thin. Looks different than he looked in Dark Knight.
Because he's buzzed his hair.
His hair's all gone.
Yeah.
He's got kind of a 5 o'clock shadow beard. And he looks cool, dude.
Yeah.
I liked his look in this movie.
Now, this is supposed to be in 2018.
Right, so the movie takes place in 2018.
Yeah. So I was kind of confused on the timeline because they don't directly reference T2 or even T3.
They don't.
So we don't know exactly what happened, why this is happening
And
now.
the characters in this script, in this movie, are based on the first movie.
Right.
Because this is...
We're talking about time travel now. I know where you're going.
It is time travel, kind of. There's no time travel in this movie.
I would say Salvation is probably the original timeline.
Right. Because, you have Kyle Reese as a child. And you have John Connor...
Well, maybe it's the original timeline from the first movie. You're right, because
the
throughout
first
the film
movie,
he listens to the tapes that Sarah Connor's recorded. So this is
right.
This is the first 1984 timeline.
Right, which is another one of those uncredits.
Yeah.
Because what's her name?
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton wasn't in this movie, but her voice she recorded these tapes.
There's two scenes specifically where he's listening to her tapes.
Yep.
Kind of guiding him about what's to happen.
Talking about his father and talking about some
But so she came in and recorded those tapes
just for this.
Yeah. So as you talked about the credits, how cool visually it looks.
Right.
When they put on the screen Christian Bale's name, first it just says Christ, and then it says Christian Bale.
Really?
Yeah, which I thought was really cool.
That. I watched it this morning.
Yeah, I watched it last night, and I caught that for the first time ever.
That's interesting.
And obviously John Connor's supposed to be like this savior.
Yeah.
So there's this religious allegory.
Right.
And if you think about John Connor's initials are JC.
Right.
And in this movie, a lot like, not to get religious, but in Jesus' day, he had believers and non-believers.
Yep.
And in this movie, there are people who believe he's a savior and there are people that he believes he's not.
His superiors
They have no faith in him.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Michael Ironside plays one of his superiors.
He's great, though.
Now, I read a bit of trivia this morning while I was watching it. Michael Ironside had an accident, a roofing accident, and really, really messed up his back. And in the movie, he never sits down because the pain was so intense.
Wow. And
there's a part, and I noticed this. I had read that piece of trivia, and then I looked back up at the TV, and there's a part where he's doing something with his coat or his jacket or something, and like it looks like he's adjusting his back or something.
Right.
So that makes sense because he had an accident.
I wonder if he would have had more scenes if maybe he didn't have a back injury.
Right.
Because it's a Michael Ironside. I mean,
it's Michael Ironside, man. He was big in the 80s and 90s.
He'll always be Viper to me from
dude.
Top Gun.
Yeah. I mean, he's a pretty stand-up actor, like really good guy. This was a bit of trivia, okay? This was special effects wizard Stan Winston's last movie.
Oh my gosh.
He died during the making of this movie.
And he was a big part of the visual effects for the first 2 movies.
Yep. And a slew of other movies. Yeah. You got some notes on that?
I do. He was a part of Jurassic Park's visual effects, the original Jurassic Park.
Yep. So there's a lot of cool things that the writers put into this script. Now, there's 2 writers. Okay. And they both worked on Terminator 3.
Rise of the Machines.
And it's a writing duo. And they worked on several movies before this.
Right.
And they did a lot of cool, like, throwbacks to the first film in their script. So I'm looking at the IMDb trivia, and the trick with keeping a shotgun attached around the arm that Marcus shows Kyle Reese is used by the older Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, at the beginning of the original Terminator film, 1984.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tie-ins to that original film.
Right.
Including the Nikes that Anton Yelkin's character, Kyle Reese, is wearing are very similar to what Michael Bihn's character, Kyle Reese, was wearing in the
I didn't even catch that.
in the 1984 movie. It's a bit of trivia that I read too. So earlier I mentioned that the director Mick G asked the cast and crew to read the novel The Road by Cormac McCarthy and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was the basis for Blade Runner.
Oh, the original Blade Runner?
The original Blade Runner.
Wow.
Right? So it's cool how movies like this are all
tied in,
inspired by other ones or tied in or whatever. I love that stuff.
But to go back to what you were saying about how Mick G had the cast read The Road, there were other movies that inspired Mick G to make this movie visually.
Okay.
Some of the other ones were Mad Max 2.
Oh, yes.
The original Star Wars.
Cool.
And one of my personal favorites, Children of Men.
Oh, Children of Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those movies all kind of inspired him.
Clive Owen.
And Julianne Moore.
I'm friends with Clive Owen.
Oh, yeah. We know the story. The listeners know the story now, too.
If you don't know the story, go back to our first episode, the introductory episode, where I tell my story about how I met Clive Owen. Really cool. We're buds. We're pals.
Are you guys Facebook official? Is that still a thing with you guys?
No, he defriended me.
Yeah, it happens.
Bastard. The only film in the series not to feature Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was unavailable due to serving as the governor of California at the time.
Still don't know how that happened,
but instead, a stand-in was used for T-800's brief appearance with Schwarzenegger's likeness digitally superimposed. Now, we hadn't really seen a whole lot of that happening in 2008, 2009. We didn't really see it well done until Rogue One.
Rogue One.
So in Rogue One, Grand Moff Tarkin, his whole acting experience in that movie was not him because he's been dead for like 30 years.
Right.
And they digitally superimposed his character. They also did it with Princess Leia.
Yep.
So in both those characters in that movie, and that's in my opinion, that's the best that CG looks.
Yeah.
In anything film, the CG of Arnold Schwarzenegger's face in this did not look good.
Yeah, seeing it again last night, I thought, how did I fall for this?
Yeah, this morning I saw it. I was like, the shading and the lighting looked weird. It looked plasticky.
Yeah.
You know, it did not look good.
No.
It was a fun moment when it happened.
Yeah, it was a cool fan moment.
Because there's like, it's toward the end of the film, and John Connor's in this big facility,
looking for Kyle Reese.
The Cyberdyne facility, looking for young Kyle Reese, and all of a sudden, this T-800 shows up, and it's
first of all, the T-800 is just in this holding cell.
Yeah.
The same one that Kyle Reese is in. Not the same cell, but the same setup.
Why is he in a holding cell?
Yeah, and he's just sitting there in this room full of steam.
Right.
And Connor happens to walk by, looks in to see what's going on, and the doors fly off the hinges.
And he's butt-ass naked.
And he's just stout Austrian
huge.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, fake-faced man.
Fake face. But also, you forgot about Furious 7. Paul Walker was dead. He was killed in the middle of that production. And then they had to rewrite scenes.
Yep.
And they had to use both of his brothers, Cody and Caleb, for body doubles, and used like past stock footage and audio of Paul Walker's lines for some of that film. And for the most part, you can't tell when it's really him and when it's not.
Yeah. How many times as a child did you watch Terminator 2?
A lot.
I had a friend who had it on VHS, and I would go over to his house and spend the night all the time. And we literally would wait till his mom and dad went to sleep, and we put on Terminator 2.
You touched on this last week with Die Hard, how you would rent it and watch it late at night when your parents go to bed.
Mom and dad didn't know that I was watching
of course not.
Terminator 2 when I was that young, because I would have been in like middle school.
Yeah.
Maybe even elementary
That's
school.
when I saw it was middle school.
Because that was 90...
Well, it came out in 91.
Okay, so Terminator 2 came out in 91. Mm-hmm. I was only 10 years old.
Right.
In 91. So we watched it umpteen times, like over and over.
That was the movie whenever I got sick around that age.
Okay.
I would ask Mom, hey, can you rent this for me?
Yeah. I want chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
And I want Terminator 2.
But think about it. If you're a 12-year-old and you're sick, you can probably get anything you want. Because your parents are like, oh, my baby's sick.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know, whatever you want.
Man, those days are long gone.
Long gone.
Here's something. This morning when I was watching it, there's that big scene where they go down in that hole.
Yeah.
They rappel down into that hole, and he lights the flare, and he throws it down, and so John Connor goes down, and then that whole sequence down there, and then he gets back out, and there's someone dead at the top.
Just a random Terry Crews dead cameo.
Okay. So I looked up the trivia to figure out, because I was like, that's definitely Terry Crews.
And it's odd.
Dead against a rock.
Yeah.
Right there. So Terry Crews was cast as Captain Jericho, but his scenes ended up being cut from the final film. However, Crews is still visible in one scene as a dead body left in the aftermath of a battle. So, what a strange cameo, and now we know why, because his scenes were cut.
Why were they cut, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe there was just, cut for, sometimes, listeners, sometimes movies are cut down for length, like too long. Executive producers or producers want it to be shorter to fit in a certain time frame.
And maybe those scenes didn't fit the narrative.
And this movie's right under 2 hours, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So that's probably what they wanted to do. Sure, and maybe those scenes were just didn't follow along with the plot or something.
Right.
And so his scenes were cut, but we still see a dead Terry Crews. It's like, what? That's so weird.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
If you see that, if you know who Terry Crews is, and you're like, did that just happen?
Yeah. We can't talk about Terminator Salvation without talking about the famous viral YouTube clip of Christian Bale losing his
meltdown.
shit.
Yeah.
So I'll just read it real fast and we can talk about it.
Okay.
So during the filming in summer of 2008, Christian Bale yelled and used profanity at cinematographer Shane, I'm going to mess up his last name, I'm not going to say it, Shane whoever, who was adjusting the light in the background while Bale was doing an intense scene and got distracted by the cinematographer. Bale's tirade was then leaked on the internet. After it was leaked, Bale publicly apologized for his remarks and insisted that he and the cinematographer are on good terms. I remember seeing that on YouTube.
I heard the clip.
And he lost his mind.
Yeah.
And just went all out. Now, on some level, I understand. As a performer, I understand where he's coming from. Distracted, he was in a zone and he was doing his thing. But let it go.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, step off set for a little while, or whatever.
And you know what? That might have happened. We don't know.
Yeah.
But see, I'm not a performer. I'm the guy behind the camera. I'm the writer. But I can imagine what it must take, the depths you go to mentally to get to that place to perform that intense scene.
Right.
And you take so much preparation mentally and emotionally, and you get prepared for that moment. You're in it.
Yeah.
And then lights are moving, and you're like, what is happening?
Right. And it just distracts you and throws you off.
So I'm sure there's emotional reaction. You just go right into it.
You just go into it. You're already probably there
Yeah.
with your feelings and your emotions, and it just explodes.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like that the apology came after the leak. The apology, like you said, you should have came after that moment happened.
So this is 2008. It's kind of around the time when cell phones were getting better. You could video with your... So somebody on the set was probably just flip their phone out, which was probably a Motorola Razr.
Or a Nokia.
Yeah.
Take 6 presses on a button to get one letter, and if you screw up, you got to go back. Hated that.
All right. What do you got in your notes?
Christian Bale was the choice for John Connor. But McG also expressed interest in Daniel Day-Lewis and Josh Brolin as John Connor, but obviously went with Christian Bale. I think Daniel Day-Lewis even read the script and thought it was a little too gritty and too dark for him, which is shocking because Daniel Day-Lewis is an amazing actor and does gritty stuff, and also another method actor as Christian Bale is.
Well, Daniel Day-Lewis really carefully chooses his roles.
That's also true.
So I don't even know if this is on his radar. Like, he probably wouldn't even really considering this movie, because this is not a movie you would see him in. And he was probably working on There Will Be Blood.
That's what I was thinking
around
too.
this time. Because he does a movie like every 6 years or something like that.
Yeah, he's like the James Cameron of actors, because Cameron does like one movie every decade.
Yep.
And I guess we'll see Avatar 3 when we're 50.
I think Avatar 3, 4, and 5 are going to come out right after Jesus comes back.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Kirk Cameron will probably be in it somehow as a cameo.
Forgive me for eating. I'm starving. I needed a little snack.
Yeah, so there was a lot of technical stuff behind the scenes, legally trying to get the rights to this movie to get made. The rights to this movie shifted hands a couple of times over like 12 years after T3. So it was produced by, I believe it's the Helicon Company.
Okay.
But they went bankrupt, and so the sequels that were planned never happened. They were canceled.
I did not know this.
Yeah. And it was just, the rights to this movie is just like a curse. You get the rights and there's a curse, because after T2, you get T3, which isn't that great of a film.
Rise of the Machines wasn't good.
No.
It had some interesting scenes and some fun scenarios, but it wasn't a good movie. This was, like you're saying, going to be a new like direction for the franchise.
And I'm gonna tell you what, speaking of new directions, this was the first in the franchise and the last of the franchise to be PG-13.
Good point. I remember seeing that on Netflix this morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is the first one that's PG-13, so not a lot of language, not a lot of over-the-top gore.
Right. I read there was a scene Mick G cut to make the PG-13 rating. So when Marcus is fighting the guys that attack, I think her name is Blair, Moon Bloodgood's character.
Yep.
So he takes those guys out, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes, by the way. We'll get to it here in a bit.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
And he does stab one guy with a screwdriver, and they show it in this one version, but that's what gives him an R rating. So McG didn't want that in there, so he cut it out to keep the PG-13 rating.
Can I tell you one of my favorite scenes where that also happens? Okay. Somebody gets stabbed with a screwdriver.
Okay.
Dennis Hopper.
In Speed?
In Speed. You remember? I remember seeing Speed as a child. I mean, I wasn't a child, but I was like, a tween probably.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can stab somebody with a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even fathom that. It was crazy.
It's all science. You put in the force behind it, velocity, speed, all that.
Man,
yeah.
Science.
Science.
Look at you.
Science is amazing.
All right, so this being released in 2009, this film marks the 25th anniversary of the first movie, The Terminator, from 1984. That's pretty cool.
It's weird how that worked out.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that wasn't planned to come out that year, but
it
just worked out. They probably wanted to get the 20th anniversary.
Right.
And the rights were bouncing around.
Yeah.
So this movie had a $200 million budget.
What was the box office?
Only 371.
Oh, man. Not well received.
At all.
Yep.
And a lot of people say it's because of the PG-13. It's because it's not the same. It's supposed to be in the future, but we're using machine guns still.
Yeah.
We've been seeing, so the first two movies show the Terminators with these like plasma rifles, right?
Right.
And this huge war between all these endoskeletons and humans. And then we finally get the first future war movie, and it's basically just an army of guys with machine guns against robots. Speaking of the robots, there's like 8 or 9 different types of Terminators in this movie.
I know, and they're like introducing new ones in this movie.
Yeah, and which I thought were really cool.
Yeah, like those big ones?
Yeah, the Harvester. Yeah.
Harvester, yeah.
Actually, the scene where the Harvester shows up when they're in the gas station, that's one of my favorite scenes.
That's a cool scene.
Because it goes from that point to when Kyle Reese is captured.
Right.
At the end. That whole stretch is one of my favorite scenes.
There's a section on the IMDb page for these movies, for every movie, and it's called Goofs.
Yeah.
Right? And you have people that sit there and they watch this movie with a fine-tooth comb and they go, right? And they're like, that's wrong.
Right.
So one of those goofs is John Connor is seen driving a JK Series 4-door Jeep Wrangler, which was first manufactured in 2007. Skynet launched its massive nuclear war, destroying most of humanity in 2004.
Yep.
Therefore, there wouldn't be any new vehicles after that.
No.
So this vehicle doesn't exist.
Well, that there's also a scene where Marcus is trying to get to, I guess, San Francisco.
Okay.
And he's fixing the Jeep, and the radio comes on.
Right.
Like, why is the radio even still working?
Right.
In 2018.
But do you know what song comes on?
Yeah, it's Alice in Chains. The Here Comes the Rooster, I believe. Yeah.
And you know what other movie that was in?
No, I don't.
The first Terminator. That's why I was in this. That's why I was in this movie.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about songs that are in this one that are also from other movies.
Okay.
When John Connor gets on top of the Terminator, the motorcycle.
Yep.
The song he's playing is Guns N' Roses' "Sweet Child of Mine," or not "Sweet Child of Mine."
"You Could Be Mine."
That's what it is.
By Guns N' Roses.
So it's Guns N' Roses. "You Could Be Mine," and he takes off from the motorcycle headed towards Skynet. Now John Connor's listening to that same song in Terminator 2 when he's riding to the mall with his friend on his back.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
And of course, there's he says, "I'll be back." Kyrie says, "Come with me if you want to live," when he first meets Marcus.
Yep.
So they're talking about some more callbacks to the other movies.
Yep.
But at what point would you say it starts to get a little too cliche and corny? It's like we're still going to use the same. I know they're iconic, but do we have to have them in every Terminator film? Because they have been.
Have they been? Even in
Dark Fate that came out last year?
Yeah.
Sarah Connor.
I really enjoyed
it was really good.
Dark Fate.
Sarah Connor says, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
You know.
I haven't seen Dark Fate. So I didn't see it with you.
No.
I see it with my friend Peter.
Right.
And I haven't seen it since I saw that in the theater.
Oh.
And I really enjoyed it. That was a good movie.
It was really good.
Yeah. Kind of a new direction, and maybe it will be the new direction.
Maybe so.
Genesis was supposed to be a new franchise, a new direction, and that movie was also not well received.
And also had Jai Courtney, which we talked about last week.
Right.
He was in the worst Die Hard film in the franchise.
Right,
So
I agree.
maybe Jai Courtney's the curse.
Is he?
He's in Suicide Squad, but he was not memorable as Captain Boomerang.
Horrible movie.
Yeah. And he's going to be in the remake.
So I'm excited about the remake because of who's attached. James Gunn is writing, directing it, and he did Guardians 1 and 2. And he's also done some other really good horror films, which I actually enjoyed. What's that one with...
Brightburn.
No, well, not Brightburn. That was good too. He produced that. He didn't direct it. He didn't direct it. He didn't direct that one, but he did one called... what's it called?
Slither?
Slither. Yeah, he did Slither.
Isn't that Nathan Fillion?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That movie is crazy.
Yeah, it is. I've seen it once, and I was like, not for me.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Nah.
Wow, a horror movie that I enjoyed that you didn't like.
I don't like the creepy crawler horror films.
Okay.
Yeah. No, give me a haunted house or a possessed whatever, and I'm all in.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious about now? So since this movie has so many different types of Terminators, so obviously we know the T-800 is Arnold's version.
Yep.
In this film, there's a T-600, which is what attacks Marcus when he first meets Kyle Reese.
Right.
And then I think when Kyle Reese is captured and they're kind of all being pushed towards whatever this little like walking the plank type thing in the Skynet facility, this one guy freaks out, tries to escape by crawling up the wall, right?
Right.
And he gets gunned down by I think it's a T-400. So what do the T-100, 200, and 300 look like? I would love to know.
We think they're all failures?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did read somewhere that this is like the beginning of Skynet's making these models.
Right.
So some of them are kind of flawed.
I mean, this is for the first time we're seeing the machines being built. Like we've never seen that before in any of these movies, which is really cool.
But I'm thinking the T-100 probably used a bow and arrow or a knife. Because with each model, they get a different weapon. There's a different variation of a weapon. The T-600 had a minigun attached to him and a grenade launcher on the other arm. Mm-hmm. So the T-100 had to have something primitive like a bow and arrow or a knife.
And then the T-1000 would make sense why it's so advanced, because it's got like the shape-shifting abilities, right? And the swords or whatever it wants to be.
So it was just trial and error,
right?
Until they figured it out.
This is the first Terminator film not to feature Earl Bowen, who played a doubting psychiatrist, Dr. Peter Silberman, in the earlier films. He has a really big role in 2. Remember in the mental facility?
Right. Going back to the opening scene where Marcus is in his cell, they say it's Longview Correctional Facility.
I know. Was it Longview, Texas?
I think it was because right before he gets the injection, the guy that gives the signal has a cowboy full outfit on.
Really?
And I'm betting it's supposed to be Longview.
I wonder if they put it in Longview. That's cool.
I thought that was so weird.
We should go see if we can find that place. You think it's still there?
I mean, it could be.
Because this was 2018, so...
And also going back to when Connor dives into that facility in the beginning, when he's scanning the room, Marcus is laying on the bed, and you see his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, he sees all the prisoners in these cells,
right?
And he starts to figure out what Skynet's doing, taking prisoners.
Yeah, and I guess he just forgets that he just saw Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm still unclear. So we get to the end of the film. We're kind of bouncing around the plot now, but you get to the end of the film, Marcus decides to go to Skynet to rescue Kyle Reese.
Right.
Because throughout the film, he's bonded with this kid. We got to get to the deaf girl, too, here in a minute after that.
Star.
Yeah, Star. So obviously he walks right in because he's part machine.
Right.
And when he figures out the truth, Helena Bonham Carter shows up on this interface screen as like a digital image. And she's explaining to him the whole plan, why he was created.
Right.
When he signed those papers, back in his jail cell. So the plan was for him to be the first perfect infiltrator.
Infiltrator, right.
Yeah, but if you watch that film, it's not like he knew what he was doing. It was all kind of like just happened.
He had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't know what year it was.
He didn't know what was going on.
He didn't know what day it was.
Yeah, so he wasn't the perfect infiltrator.
Right. He didn't even know he was a Terminator.
He had no idea.
Yeah.
So it makes me think maybe it was like Inception.
Right.
They gave him the idea without him really knowing what he was doing.
Interesting. And he just did it.
And he just did it.
He was just...
It's just like on instinct.
Muscle memory or whatever.
But so let's go to Star, the little deaf girl.
So why do you think her character was in the movie?
I think just to give Kyle Reese a companion. And to show that Marcus does have a heart, even though he's part machine.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that Star was there. She didn't never talk.
No, she's
mute.
deaf,
She was mute because of since Judgment Day.
Right.
And I think it was to show the compassion from Kyle Reese, like treating her like his little sister.
Right.
And showing that he really cares for humans.
Yeah. So the first time you see Kyle Reese interact with her, he's doing sign language. And so I'm thinking, where did you learn sign language from? Who taught you sign language?
Do you think Star taught him?
Maybe, but she would have to.
She's super young.
She'd give you the sign.
Yeah.
But she can't verbally tell you what the sign means.
She can say thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right, but he does like this whole little complicated thing to tell, and all it tells her to do is cut this rope.
And honestly, there are moments when Kyle Reese is yelling, "Star!"
Right.
And I'm like, she can't hear you.
So the only thing I can say how that could work is, you yell.
Sure, and you can feel it in your chest.
Yeah,
okay.
Because the whole thing with her characters, whenever Terminators were coming, she could feel the vibrations.
There's like explosions happening all around, and he's like running after her.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, so that doesn't apply then.
No.
That's weird. That's really weird.
How random was it whenever you saw the Russian guy down in the submarine? So like all of the
that's the command center. Basically.
I guess it's command center,
yeah.
and it's kind of intelligent because there's machines aren't going to go in water except for those eel type machines we saw in
the hydrobots.
Another new Terminator we didn't know about.
Right.
And there's like this alligator wrestling moment whenever Marcus jumps up and
saves John.
Saves John Connor, and then he lets him go or whatever. But like all of a sudden there's like this Russian guy. Do you think they just like found this submarine and like this Russian guy's just been on there and like, hey, we're gonna use your submarine now? He's like, I'll come with you, or whatever.
A call back to our last episode about Die Hard. We're gonna requisition your submarine.
Yeah, we're gonna commandeer your submarine, Russian. And Michael Ironside's gonna be in charge of it now. And
but it's smart because, like you said, they can stay on the move. And they can't be tracked.
Right, until they do get tracked.
Right, because they think they discover a pattern in Skynet's signal, how they communicate, and it was a trap.
Yep.
They wanted to get discovered.
It was a tarp.
Yep.
So,
wait, did you say tarp?
What? I had another question. Okay, we'll just go to our categories. So Danny Elfman is the composer.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite scores to listen to. I know we talked about it in the last episode. I like to listen to movie scores a lot, especially the first track, the opening song in the movie.
What's the opening credits?
Is the theme.
Yeah.
Now, what I like about how Danny Elfman did this score is he did the theme and then a whole bunch of different variations on the theme.
Right.
He had like a guitar, like an acoustic guitar in that one scene where they're making a fire.
That's probably one of my favorite pieces in the film. Yeah,
me too. I returned to that on the soundtrack or the score a lot. There's a little noodling on the guitar playing the theme, which is really cool.
This is like a bonding moment between Marcus and Blair.
I have a problem with that scene though.
Please tell me.
Okay. So she's like, find something dry to burn. Right?
Yeah.
Right before that, like everything's wet, but around the fire, everything's dry.
Everything's dry. Yeah.
Dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my problem with that scene.
No, I have the problem with that as well.
Yeah.
It's the same problem that you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
But it's okay because Moon Bloodgood's in that scene and she's not ugly.
You know, she's. Did you watch Falling Skies with Noah Wiley on TNT?
I never watched it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, she was in that show, and I don't know what else she's been in since or prior.
Not a whole lot of things.
No.
Yeah.
No.
She has a cool name though.
Yeah, and you know what? They don't reveal that she's a woman until she's like hung up and Marcus goes to save her, sticks her helmet off.
No, I have a problem with that scene too. So she's like stuck.
Yeah.
You know, she like ejects from her plane.
Right.
She's like hanging on a pretty big structure, right? I guess it's like a power line structure or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Marcus shows up.
Yeah.
Like, he just shows up.
Well, I wouldn't say he doesn't quite
like,
show up.
He's like, you need any help?
He's kind of in the vicinity already because that's when Kyle and
he comes out of the water.
Right.
And she flies over and gets stuck.
But she flew a long way away from where he was.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he shows up in the scene and she's not startled or anything, But
think about it. She might have been hanging there for hours hoping someone would come.
Yeah, we don't
and
really
save
know
her.
how long.
But
he's like, hey, you need some help?
Maybe that could tie into his muscle memory of being a robot kicking in.
Yeah.
He has a tracking system.
He knows where humans are or whatever.
Like he knew he needed to go to San Francisco.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter, only in 2 scenes.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it took 10 days.
Yeah, it took 10 days. Now, I do know what reason. She had 4 members of her family die in a car crash in England. And she didn't have a whole lot of time.
Right.
Free time to be able to do this. And that's why, even though it did take 10 days, I mean, you know how productions go. Like, scenes could take a long time. Right.
Yeah.
And she was only in 2 scenes.
Right. And if you combine those scenes, they're not even 10 minutes.
In the beginning and then those recordings.
Yep.
But who knows why it took 10 days. I don't know. But
there's another female character in this, Kate Brewster, John Connor's wife.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
That's
right.
Another 3 name.
Now, she was actually a 3rd choice for this film.
I can see that.
There were 2 more female actors that were slated to be in that role, and then scheduling conflicts happened.
Okay.
And then Bryce Dallas, and I don't even know if they don't really talk about her being pregnant.
Yeah.
But she's just pregnant, visibly she's showing a lot, and her face is a little puffy. And I was like, they never really do they talk about it?
No, and it makes me think they had plans for the kid in the next
in a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of that too.
Because speaking of sequels, there was in one of the earlier drafts, the original ending was super dark.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Tell me.
So at the end of the film, in the early draft, John Connor was a secondary character in this film, and he dies. And what they do is they graft John Connor's skin onto Marcus.
What?
Yeah. And that's how they were going to move forward with the rest of the franchise, the planned sequels.
So Marcus
But what happens was he ends up killing all the main characters at the end of this film under the guise of John Connor. So however they were going to move forward, I would have loved to have seen where they were going to go with playing that angle. Because he kills Kate, he kills Kyle Reese, and he kills Star, the little girl, and who we haven't talked about yet, Common. He kills Common's character, Barnes, as well. So what are you going to do for the next sequel? John Connor's dead, but this Terminator's wearing his face, and all the main characters are dead. Kyle Reese is dead. Your pregnant wife is dead.
Man.
That would have changed the rest of the franchise.
Right.
I don't know how you come back from that.
It's crazy that last week's episode we talked about a crazy dark ending that was an alternate ending for Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
And now Terminator Salvation also has a strange dark, like
that would have been really dark.
Alternate ending, yeah.
But yeah, so I mentioned Common. He's in this.
Yeah.
He's like the muscle, I guess.
He doesn't really have a good role.
He's just kind of there.
And he kind of seems dumb.
Yeah.
Right? Like whenever Moon Bloodgood was like, hey, Connor wants you. And he's like, what's up? What do you need?
Right.
And then Connor just gets up and runs off. And that's when, we found out that what's Moon's character's name? Blair and Marcus are like escaping.
Now that's my other favorite scene is that escape scene.
That escape scene was interesting. Like, also, like the whole going back to the minefield. He's like, we're back in the minefield,
Yeah.
They bust out of that.
There's like a sewer tunnel.
A sewer tunnel or
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to get away, and she gets caught.
Right.
And he jumps into the river, I guess.
Yeah.
Because John Connor does find him, and that's when he gets the alligator wrestling.
The alligator,
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun scene.
It is a fun scene.
Yeah. What is your favorite scene?
I like I think it's when the harvester shows up. They're in the
gas station.
The gas station,
Yeah.
which by the way they built that whole gas station.
Really?
Yeah, most of the
Didn't exist.
stuff that they are filming in, they built, which balloons that budget.
Yeah.
Which is why it's $200 million.
Yeah.
Also with the CG.
Right.
But it's that one long stretch where the harvester shows up, kills all the people trying to escape in cars.
Right.
And all the way to the end when Kyle and Star get kidnapped.
Yep.
So I didn't know this until yesterday, but Sam Worthington did all of his own stunts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
He tore some muscles early on filming, but insisted on continuing and doing his own stunts.
Yeah.
He does some physical stuff in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
Some pretty heroic stuff.
I really like the Harvester is probably one of my favorite of the new machines that we are introduced to.
His knees are the Moto Terminators. They click off and take off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then whenever he gets in that, Marcus gets in that like oil tanker and like drives it into the
leg and
like makes him fall down or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So right after that, the Moto Terminators are chasing them. I think there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus takes this truck that they're in and hits cars in the road to flip them up in the air and try to get them caught.
Yeah.
The one Moto Terminator does this Transformer-like move where it does a 180 then slides under because it's calculating where to slide because it's a robot, it's a machine.
So it reorients itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get caught.
Right.
And it made me think of Idris Elba's motorcycle in Hobbs and Shaw. There's a scene where he kind of does that.
Yeah, you're right.
And
cool reference.
We talked about that last week in the Die Hard with the Vengeance, where there's scenes that inspire other scenes in later movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I have a problem with the part where John Connor finds one of those Moto
Terminators,
mm-hmm. and he flips off like a little control panel,
right,
and does some hacker
stuff,
something, and then he drives it off.
He's a hacker.
Yeah. The physicality of having to get on that bike with one of those there's a robot rider or driver on that bike. So how is he comfortably sitting on that motorcycle?
Well, I'm sure it's not comfortable.
No, and he just speeds off.
Yeah. He's done it a million times.
Also, he shows up to Skynet or whatever, Cyberdyne or whatever.
Skynet, yeah.
It's on the screen. It says Skynet East Lot or whatever it says, and he's just casually run up to the building and there's no cameras and there's no lasers.
Well, remember the plan? He lets Marcus go because Marcus is I can get you in.
I get you in. Yeah.
So once Marcus gets inside, he does power down all of the security systems.
Okay.
That's how he's able to sneak on.
That's why I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that's how he goes up to that door, the double door.
Right.
Whatever.
Opens.
Garage door looking thing.
And I also love that too. It's probably one of the more suspenseful moments of the film. Is once he's in the Skynet facility looking for Kyle Reese, you can tell there's an urgency to what's happening because Command wants to bomb the facility.
Right.
And John's like, no, there's survivors. We need to get them out.
Yeah, there's a lot of survivors.
So he makes this this Bill Pullman Independence Day speech to the survivors left on the planet about Command's going to tell you to bomb tomorrow. Don't do it. This and that because the future is at stake. And he's in there and he's searching, and that's when we get to the Arnold reveal and all that.
It makes sense that in the script it was changed for when Christian Bale took the John Connor role, because a lot of his lines are not written well.
They're not,
in my opinion. And also, Christian Bale's voice, So he just came off of Dark Knight,
right?
Where he has his
grovelly
Bruce Wayne voice and his Batman voice.
Right.
In this movie, his voice sounded really like worse grovelly than Dark Knight.
Yeah, it did.
And I wonder if he like lost some of his voice for a little while.
Damaged his vocal cords.
Damaged vocal cords because his talking voice was pretty normal, but when he was like yelling, it didn't sound cool.
No, it didn't.
It sounded weird
at all. I have a complaint too about the film. So when he goes to command and he's in the submarine, they're telling John, "Oh, there's a hit list. Skynet's got a list of people they're gonna kill."
Yeah.
And they say, Connor, you're number 2, and he's like, well, "Who's number 1?" And the Russian guy just memorized the list because he's like, "Oh, Kyle Reese."
Yeah.
Who's gonna notice anybody on that list? Especially if Kyle Reese is a civilian at this, he's not part of the resistance.
Right.
And so then, okay, I can kind of roll with that.
Yeah.
But then if that's a hit list that Skynet put out, you capture Kyle Reese and you make him a prisoner. Why don't you just kill him as soon as you capture him? It's over then.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, unless they had a plan, because then when he finds Kyle in the facility at the end, he's laying on one of those like operating tables.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is not a hit list. This is we're gonna make you something else list.
Probably, yeah. That's what Skynet was trying to do. Right.
Infiltrators.
Right. Was this McGee's best movie?
I say yeah.
So he directed We Are Marshall.
And I've never seen it.
Which is a really endearing like football movie, right? Sports movie. I'm not really big into sports movies. There are some that I really like.
Right.
I remember enjoying that movie. It's a Matthew McConaughey vehicle.
Right.
But he did Charlie's Angels 1 and 2. And those were fun movies.
They're fun.
Like they weren't to be taken seriously at all.
Right. The overkill using slow-mo, but it's cool to see.
But it was big at the time.
Yep.
It's kind of a spoof action movie with based on the TV series.
Right.
And it was good. It was decent. There was another reboot of that was not good.
The Elizabeth Banks directed and starred in, and it was complete trash.
It was not good.
I saw it about a month ago.
The Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore team up and Lucy Liu was really good. I like those two movies. Those are fun movies.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them. They probably don't hold up. I haven't seen them since
I've seen them both recently, and they don't hold up at all.
I think like when they were released on DVD, I think I watched them a couple times, and then like I haven't seen them since then.
Right.
Was this Christian Bale's best movie?
Oh no, absolutely not.
What is Christian Bale's best movie? Dark Knight. I mean, his performance in that isn't really. It's in the shadow of Heath Ledger's performance.
Right.
Really.
So if we take Heath Ledger out of the equation, and we're just looking strictly at Christian Bale.
I still don't think so.
Are we looking at his Batman portrayal, or are we looking at Bruce Wayne as his best?
That's true.
I think he was a great Batman.
I would probably choose my favorite Christian Bale movie would be The Prestige. I really enjoyed that movie.
I mean, I'm not mad at that choice.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Did you see Ford versus Ferrari with Matt Damon?
I did. Oh no! Now I remember Vice.
I think. Yeah.
Did you see Vice?
I haven't seen. That's where he's Dick Cheney, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
He gains a whole bunch of weight.
Right.
This is what he does.
Right.
To lack of a better term, he balloons up for roles and he gets really, really skinny. In The Machinist, he was like, did you ever see The Machinist?
No, he was scary thin.
Incredibly thin.
Yeah.
And then you have...
he went from that to Batman Begins.
Yeah, and he was like freaking ripped for Batman Begins, buff as all get out.
Right.
And then for Vice, which was like a spoof, not a spoof, like a satirical look at politics and those in real life characters. And he played it really good. But Ford versus Ferrari was a good movie.
Really good.
I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also really good in The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg.
Nope, that's not true. I did see that.
Yeah.
I only saw it in the theater once, and I should probably watch it again.
He's done so many good roles. It's kind of hard to say, but
yeah, it's true.
I'm not mad at The Prestige, but I wouldn't be mad if you said Ford versus Ferrari either.
Man, and then 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh, that's right.
Another really, I mean, we talked about it previously, but like a really well done remake of a classic Western
movie.
And his role is really good.
It is really good. Yeah. Man, that's tough.
Sam Worthington's best movie? Is it this?
I'm going to say this because I'm going to get a lot of hate about this, but I'm not an Avatar fan.
I didn't like Avatar either, and I think he commands this role pretty well. To
me, this is more about him.
It's a pretty big lead role for him. And in fact, the early versions of the script was more about Marcus
and
less about John Connor.
Right.
So,
I would definitely say this is his best film.
Yeah.
Because after this, he did a couple of movies and then kind of dropped off the planet for a little while.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
And I always wonder what happened to him. I don't know if this is me or if this is just what it was, but is he using an accent? He's using his accent in this movie?
I think he's just being. That's just how he talks.
Okay.
I don't think he put on an accent for this movie. I think
because
that's
he is.
He's from England, I think.
Right.
Let's actually just fact check that real fast. He is from Surrey, England.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I felt like he was trying to lose the accent to make it American, but you could hear.
Do you remember when they asked him? He's tied up, right? He's got like a barbell-looking thing above him.
I think it's like two car axles split
from like a
truck or a car.
Yeah, right.
To like tie his arms and legs.
So Connor's like questioning him, right? And he says, he goes, "When were you manufactured?" And he goes, "I was born."
Right.
And he says like August 1975.
See, there you go.
The way he pronounces his real birthday is August 2nd, 1976.
Right. Interesting thing, when this movie was released, it didn't release in Mexico until a month later because, ironically enough, there was an outbreak of swine flu.
Really?
Yeah. So everywhere else was safe but Mexico.
Yeah, those damn pigs.
Strange. Can we say that?
So the category that I want to talk about now is the character category, which I think I would take Anton Yelkin's character, Kyle Reese, out, and just I want to learn more about him. Like I want to know more about that character.
Right.
And that's really what drives me for this category because I didn't see enough.
Yeah.
Either that or I saw a lot of what I really liked, and I want to see more.
Well, this movie, to me, I felt like it could have easily have been like a Kyle Reese origin story.
Absolutely.
And because we had Sam Worthington and Christian Bale, there wasn't enough time.
New paths we could have taken with these characters.
Right.
We probably could have seen a movie with just Starr and Kyle Reese.
We could have.
By themselves in fighting Terminators or whatever. Because like Kyle Reese knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like smashed that one giant Terminator.
Yeah, they had a trap set.
Yeah.
And they knew exactly
It's like a railroad car
Yeah.
thing that like falls down. It was awesome.
Right. Because they could show him learning sign language, how to communicate with her.
Right.
And they start training. Because his version of Kyle Reese is very brave.
Yeah, very brave.
Yeah.
And the older version isn't so brave.
No.
He's more like run.
I think he's kind
Michael Biehn.
It's like he's kind of like he's battle torn.
Yeah.
I think he was even in the original. I think he was branded. He'd been in a Skynet workers camp.
Right.
So that will change, some things about you mentally.
So Mike, we keep referencing to Michael Biehn, and he was Kyle Reese in the original.
Yep.
Terminator. He was. I think he had a couple references in Terminator 2.
He had one deleted scene in T2.
He plays the father of a character played by Topher Grace in one of my favorite movies. It's a newer movie called Take Me Home Tonight. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces.
It's a 80s based rom-com.
Right.
With Chris Pratt and Anna Faris, and I think they were married at the time. And Chris Pratt's character is an asshole. Like I hate him. But Michael Biehn plays his dad, and he has some pretty good rapport and lines in that movie. And I mean, Michael Biehn he's in Tombstone. He was Johnny Ringo in Tombstone.
There you go. Yeah.
So that was probably one of my introductions to like really knowing who Michael Biehn was because he was in Aliens. Yep. He was in the first Terminator. It says he's in The Mandalorian, but I don't remember him in The Mandalorian.
He might have been like a character voice of one of the
aliens. I have to go back
aliens.
and see what he played. I love The Mandalorian. You have yet to watch it, right?
Not yet.
Dude, you got to watch Mandalorian.
I know. I'm excited.
I gave you my Disney Plus login.
And I haven't even watched it.
Have you even?
I have been on there.
Okay.
I just haven't watched The Mandalorian.
Okay.
There's another character in the movie. Oh, so speaking of Anton Yelkin.
Tragically taken away from us too young.
I was going to say, he had he was on his way to being one of the top leading actors in Hollywood.
He's in a movie that I love with Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. played the principal.
Yeah.
Of Charlie Bartlett? Charlie.
That's his name. Charlie's in the title.
Hold on. He was in Green Room, which is a crazy
Patrick
movie.
Stewart. Yeah.
Patrick Stewart.
Insane.
Oh, he was in Fright Night, a remake of a movie called Fright Night.
With Colin Farrell, yep.
With Colin Farrell. He was the voice in the Smurfs. He was Chekhov in Star Trek, which I love his version of Chekhov.
I do too.
It's really cool.
He was in the first two, died in the third one, so they didn't replace him, which I love.
Right. So Charlie Bartlett was a movie that Anton Yelchin did in 2007, where Robert Downey Jr. And it's a coming-of-age type movie, which I love those type of stories. And I highly recommend it. It's a really good movie that starring Anton Yelchin. And Kat Dennings is in it. I love Kat Dennings.
Is that the one where he's selling his prescription meds in the bathroom?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a really funny concept. He's like a rich kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's made all his money. His parents are already rich, but they don't pay any attention to him. And Robert Downey Jr. plays his principal, and they have like a interesting relationship,
right?
Like friendship, and it's a really good, endearing movie. Well, that's all I had to talk about with Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, it's another movie. It's another movie we recommend.
It's a fun action movie. You don't really need to know a whole lot about it because it's
actually you don't,
because a lot of it's explained. Kind of in the telling, in the beginning when it has the words come on the screen and it sets it up. There's a lot of sci-fi movies that do that.
I call it teleprompter narration.
Okay.
Or teleprompter exposition.
Yeah. Oh, totally exposition.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how the sets the scene, lets you know the history and whatever that you need to know to watch the movie you're about to watch.
And if any of you know if there's actually a Longview Correctional Facility, please let us know.
I don't know if it's in Longview, Texas, but if it is, that would be really cool.
It would be.
And we're going to go visit and see if we can.
record a pod from the jail cell.
Whoa, yeah. That's a good idea. Cool. Well, guys, thank you for joining us this week. I've been Brad.
And I've been Mike.
On the mic.
Yes.
And we will see you next time.
Brad.
We won't see you next time. Well, you won't see us next time.
You'll hear us.
But we will, hopefully you listen to future episodes. And again, if you would like us to talk about a movie, a movie that you love, a movie that you frequent a lot, or a movie that you think that we would love, let us know. I would say let us know in the comment section below. That kind of works for this.
Kind of works, yeah.
But we are on Podbean. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. And our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram. Give us a like and a follow and tell your friends about Beards and Flix. Thanks, guys.
Later.